welcome to our Christmas countdown with Stories with Aunt C. We are so close. We have 4 days until Christmas. Isn't that exciting? I know, it's so exciting. All right, friends. So, I have some new additions to my collection today. I have a Rocket toy rag doll teddy bear, and she's going to be sitting right here. And then it also has some toy soldiers underneath my tree. You see that? Awesome. All right, so we have that, and we are getting so close to the end. So today we're going to read The Year of the Perfect Christmas Tree. All right? This is by Gloria Houston, and that's what the front looks like. All right. It was getting towards Christmas in the valley of Pine Grove. The wise folk said the old woman in the sky was picking her geese, for the Appalachian Mountains lay blanketed with snow. The road wound like white ribbons through the misty blue ridges, tracked by runners of wagons, sleds, and sleighs. Occasionally, an automobile chugged its way through the silence. Across the ocean, the Great War raged, but in the valley, all was at peace. It was getting on towards the Christmas Ruthie would never forget. The Christmas when the village almost did not have a Christmas tree. It happened this way. Ruthie told me so. "Come, my pretty young'uns," Papa had said one day early in the spring. "It is time to choose the Christmas tree for the village church." "But Papa, Christmas will not come for a long while," said Ruthie. The spruce trees are just now in bloom. "We must choose a special tree and mark it for the coming years. It is a custom in our village," said Papa, "for one family to give to all the folk in the village and end up on every hill and holler a Christmas tree for Pine Grove Church. This year is our turn. Some years of timbering men will give a fat round laurel from a northerly coves, the kind of outlanders called rhododendron. Other years, the holler folk may bring cedar to spread its fragrance throughout the village church." "What kind of tree shall we bring, Papa?" said Ruthie. "We shall have a balsam Christmas tree, my pretty young'un," said Papa. "The balsam grows up in the rocky crags, where only a venturesome man may go. The balsam is a perfect tree. It grows up high, near to heaven." So Papa and Ruthie rode on old Pity's back across the high cliffs and along the crags through a perfect balsam Christmas tree. They rode and rode from early morning until the sun was high in the sky. Finally they saw it, going to the edge of a high cliff on Grandfather Mountain, alone with no other trees around it. Its green color was dark and rich. It was a perfect shape and size, its tip-top pointing up to heaven. "This will be our perfect Christmas tree," said Papa, "and as it is the custom, the sesame tree, you shall be the heavenly angel in the village Christmas play. It's fitting that you should mark the Christmas tree." Papa took the red ribbon from Ruthie's coal-black curls. He lifted her high in their strong arms. "Tie this to the tip-top," he said, and he kissed the dimple on each of Ruthie's cheeks. Look, she's tying the ribbon on top of the tree. The summer came, and Papa was called away to be a soldier. He went to fight in a war far across the sea. That year, the timber was not cut, so Mama had no money to buy coffee, sugar, or cloth for a new dress. Mama and Ruthie drank peppermint tea sweetened with honey. Mama lowered the hems of Ruthie's dresses and embroidered pretty flowers over the tears and mends. Together they tended the little garden, growing vegetables to eat. And every night, Mama tucked Ruthie into her little bed and listened as she said the same prayer. "Please send my Papa home for Christmas," Ruthie whispered, "and please, please have old St. Nicholas bring me a doll with a beautiful dress, the color of cream, all trimmed with ribbons and lace." One day that fall, when the dried corn shucks rustled in the breeze, a package came from Papa. In it were soft silk stockings for Mama and blue satin hair ribbons for Ruthie. There was a letter, too. I'll be home for Christmas, the letter said. The war is finally over. The armistice was signed today. The days passed, and each day Ruthie ran home from school as fast as the deer that fed by the stream. Is Papa home? She called as she ran up the steps. But every day Mama said, not today, maybe tomorrow. He will come on the Tweety train. The day passed. Ruthie listened for the squeaky whistle on the little train the mountain folk called Tweeties. It was chugged through the valley and up the mountainside, and one day Mama and Ruthie harnessed old Piety to the sled and went to the station at Pinola. But when the other men from the village stepped off the train, Papa was not with them. Soon there was only one more day until Christmas Eve. Over at the school, Miss Jenny and her pupils were practicing the Christmas play. The children sang the Appalachian lullaby, Jesus, Jesus, rest your head, you have not a manger bed. Miss Jenny chose the boy and girl who would be Mary and Joseph, and then she called Ruthie's name. This year you shall be the heavenly angel, Miss Jenny said. This is the year your papa will give the church its Christmas tree. Miss Jenny helped Ruthie climb up to stand on the teacher's chair so that it would look as if she were up in the sky. Miss Jenny showed her how to hold her arms just so. If you wear a dress with great big sleeves, says Miss Jenny, it will look like you have wings. Mama, Mama, said Ruthie as she ran up the front steps. I must have a new dress with great big sleeves. I'm going to be the heavenly angel when Papa gives the Christmas tree. Oh, my pretty young'un, said Mama, I have no cloth to make a dress with big sleeves, and I have no money until your papa comes home. Mama kissed the dimple on each of Ruthie's cheeks and hugged her daughter tightly. That night, the preacher from Pine Grove Church knocked on the door. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve, Miss Green, he said, and Tom is not yet home from the war. Chad McKinney has been saving a prime cedar for his bottomland of Christmas next. He'd have as leave cut the tree this soon. This is the year for our family get the tree, said Mama. Tom chose it before he went away to the war. I had hoped that you would heed my wish, said the preacher. The church must have a Christmas tree when the morrow comes. Tom is as good as his word. Our family will give the tree this year, said Mama. Late that night, Mama awakened Ruthie. They dressed in their warm clothes, hats and mittens. Mama hitched old Piety to the big sled Papa used to haul fire logs down from the ridges. The moon shone silver as Mama and Ruthie made their way up the hill. Ruthie carried the lantern. As they came to the dark woods, the winter moon made strange shadows on the snow. Mama, I'm afraid, said Ruthie. No need to be afraid, said Mama. We're off to get the perfect balsam Christmas tree. Mama began to sing, I wonder as I wonder out under the sky. Ruthie joined in the song, and soon she forgot to be afraid. Mama and Ruthie led old Piety and the sled up the hills and across the ridges, but they could not find the perfect balsam. Papa says the balsam grows high on the rocky crags up near heaven where only a venturesome man will go, said Ruthie. The rocky crags, says Mama, we have a long climb ahead. Slowly they led old Piety along the ridge to the highest crag on Grandfather Mountain. They could see the village sleeping in the valley far below. Finally, at the edge of the highest cliff, they saw the balsam standing alone. There it is, Mama, Ruthie cried. See, there's my ribbon bow tied to the tip top. Ruthie ran to the rocky crag as Mama and old Piety followed. The blade of Papa's axe shone in the moonlight as Mama lifted it high. Thwack! Crack! The sounds echoed through the rocks and hills. And then Mama picked up the saw and said, Take hold of the end, my pretty young'un. Pull as hard as ever you can. Mama pulled. Ruthie pulled. Pull, back and forth until the perfect balsam Christmas tree fell softly into the snow. Ruthie and Mama lifted the tree onto the sled and tied it there. Then they made their way home down the ridge. I saw 3 ships come sailing in on Christmas Day in the morning, they sang. Through the soft snow, they led old Piety to the church. Together, they lifted the perfect balsam Christmas tree from the sled and stood it in the corner near the belfry wall. Just as the sun was rising over Doe Hill, they hurried home. Tucking Ruthie into her little bed, Mama whispered, The folk shall have their Christmas tree, and you shall be the heavenly angel this year. Ruthie fell fast asleep, but Mama sat long by the firelight, sewing as fast as her nimble fingers could move. First, she cut the ribbons and lace from a wedding dress the color of cream. From it, she fastened a smaller dress with flowing sleeves. Then she took a soft silk stocking, stuffed it with lamb's wool, and stroked it until it was smooth and round. She embroidered it with 2 blue eyes, little black curls, and made a dimple on each cheek. From the scraps of Ruthie's dress, she made a tiny dress just like it, all trimmed with ribbons and lace. She dressed the stocking doll in the tiny dress. The sun was high in the winter sky when a knock came at the door. "Good Christmas Eve, Preacher Olis," Mama said. "Did you come in and spell yourself?" "Did you hear the news about the Christmas tree?" the preacher said. "A wondrous balsam from up the high crags was found at the belfry porch this morning." Do tell, what a wonder," said Mama. "Well, that's not all. It's been told whereabouts that folks who live up in the holler heard the angels singing high up on the ridge late into the night. And they were singing Christmas songs," said Preacher Olis. Ruthie hid her face in her Mama's patchcoat quilt as the preacher would not hear her laugh. Daylight was fading when Mama helped Ruthie into the prettiest dress Ruthie has ever seen. It was made of the softest silk, the color of cream, all trimmed with ribbons and lace. It had long, flowing sleeves. "If you hold your arms just so," said Mama, "it will look like you have wings." At the church, the ladies of the valley had decorated the perfect balsam Christmas tree. Reflections of the tiny red candles in their shiny holders fastened to the tips of the branches shone in the windows. Tied to the lower branches of the tree were presents wrapped in pretty paper. Up at the tip top was a tiny angel. The sexton rang the bell, and from up and down the river road and all the hills and hollers, the folk were coming to celebrate the Christmas tree. A choir of children sang by the organ. The 3 kings waited outside the belfry door. Behind the bedsheet curtains, Mama helped the little Mary put her doll into bed in the manger straw. Ruthie climbed up and stood on the preacher's big chair. The ladies pushed the bedsheet curtains back. Ruthie could see herself in the dark church windows. She was careful to hold her arms just so in her beautiful dress it looked like she had wings. "Behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy," said Ruthie, the heavenly angel. And when the program was over, Ruthie sat to sit with Mama on the front pew. Mama held her close, and then the 3 kings came walking down the aisle, carrying lard pails filled with the Christmas treat pokes. Each bag contained a soft peppermint stick, some chocolate drops, an orange, and some hazelnuts. And behind the kings walked old St. Nicholas. He carried his toe-sack goodie bag with him. But old St. Nick visited the amen corner first. He gave each of the deacons a lump of coal or a willow switch. The folk of the church laughed. Then, to all the children who had misbehaved, old St. Nick gave a willow switch or a lump of coal as well. Ruthie had been good that year, so she got a treat poke instead. At last it was time to call the names of the presents tied to the tree. Every child in the church received a present. Everyone, that is, except Ruthie. A tear slipped down onto the dimple in her cheek. Then one of the kings reached to the tip top of the perfect balsam Christmas tree. He lifted the tiny angel down. "Why, Ruthie," said old St. Nick, "this tiny angel looks just like you." And it did. The tiny angel was wearing a dress just like Ruthie's. It was made of the softest silk, the color of cream, and it was trimmed with ribbons and lace. The sleeves were long and flowing, and it looked as if she had wings. The angel's curls were as black as coal, and she had a dimple in one cheek. Ruthie hugged the tiny angel and kissed its silly cheek, which felt just like the silk stocking Papa had sent to Mama. The preacher said to the benediction, and St. Nicholas wished to one and all a happy Christmas, and slowly the people began leaving the church. Mama and Ruthie walked out of the belfry door. St. Nicholas was standing there. A man in an army uniform stood next to him. "And here's another present for you, Ruthie," said St. Nicholas. But Ruthie was so busy looking at the tiny angel that she did not notice when strong arms picked her up. "Let me look at you, my pretty young'un," said Papa's voice, and he hugged Ruthie, Mama, and the tiny angel all at the same time. The village folk gathered around the church steps, and some someone from the village began to sing, "Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright." The folk in the village joined in, but Papa, Mama, and Ruthie and the tiny angel hardly heard. They just hugged each other some more. And since that time, every year, for more than 60 years, a tiny angel has stood on top of the perfect balsam Christmas tree. She wears a dress of softest silk, the color of cream, and all trimmed with ribbons and lace. The sleeves are long and flowing, and it looks as if she has wings. The angel has coal-black curls and a dimple in each cheek. And that's how it happened, the Christmas of the heavenly angel and the perfect balsam Christmas tree. Grandma Ruthie told me so. The end. Oh, that was a nice story. It's about how the Christmas tree almost didn't get there, but then it got there. And it was a perfect Christmas tree. I like that story a lot. All right, friends, that was a really long story, so I am going to leave it with that today. But I hope you enjoyed the story. It was a really nice story. And I will see you again tomorrow. We're so close, only 4 days. All right, here we go. Bye, friends.